This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
More fallout. The ripples continue from that massive data breach at Nova Scotia Power as politicians demand answers.
Condo conversion, why some Halifax apartment building owners are flipping their properties.
And then there was one. After the death of a popular black bear, we check in on the remaining sibling.
Building clouds and showers on tap for Friday. And yes, some more showers for the weekend, but some sun breaks in there as well. Your full forecast is coming up.
Politicians are now getting involved in the Nova Scotia Power ransomware attack, with the Liberals demanding an emergency meeting with the utility's executives. The party's interim leader has fired off a strongly worded letter to the chair of a government committee to make the demand.
It's merited, the letter says, because of the scope of the incident, which resulted in the personal information of 280,000 customers being stolen. Gareth Hampshire has the latest.
This letter from the Liberal interim leader says Nova Scotians deserve answers about the cybersecurity attack on Nova Scotia Power. It says the matter's of an urgent nature and describes the incident as one of the most significant privacy breaches in the province's history.
This is an opportunity for Nova Scotia Power to speak publicly on what took place and as I said, explain to Nova Scotians as they ask for more money for rates, what happened.
He also notes the scope of the theft of personal information, with more than half of the utility's customers being alerted, and the fact some of that data has already been published.
280,000 people have been impacted by this, and they have questions. So I think for me, and why I sent the letter, is I think the executive should come and explain.
Nova Scotia Power needs to be accountable, he says, on key questions like whether sufficient safeguards were in place. The opposition NDP also has questions.
We absolutely support a deeper probe from government into how this happened and how it's being dealt with, and making sure it never happens again.
Committee Chair NDP MLA Susan LeBlanc agrees the issue is urgent and deserves discussion, and members are now being asked to vote on whether to try to schedule a meeting for next week. It needs to be unanimous to happen. People across the province have been dealing with the fallout, and some of those taking steps to try to protect themselves have raised the idea of credit freeze legislation, which would allow people to lock access to their credit. But the minister says that's not coming to Nova Scotia.
And so knowing that Quebec is the only jurisdiction in Canada that offers it, and actually the number of citizens that are participating in that program is less than 5%. We also know for the province of Nova Scotia to implement something like this would be a significant overhaul, and it would take a lot of time.
She's recommending people subscribe to credit monitoring services and look to her department for more resources that can help. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
Cape Breton Regional Police have confirmed the remains discovered near Morley Road earlier this week are in fact the remains of Justin McDonald, and the death has been ruled a homicide. Justin McDonald went missing last July and was last seen on surveillance footage at the Irving gas station in Sydney. Police announced in November they were treating his disappearance as a homicide. 3 men were arrested and charged in December in connection with McDonald's disappearance and murder. Ken McDonald, Justin's father, told CBC News yesterday he found his son's body while conducting a search.
A man is dead after a fatal daytime shooting in Dartmouth. Halifax police say they responded to a report of gunshots in the area of Highfield Park Drive and True North Crescent around noon today. Once there, officers found a man with gunshot wounds inside a vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident is being treated as a homicide. Police are asking the public to avoid the area and for anyone with information to come forward.
A lockdown at Mount St. Vincent University was lifted this afternoon after police determined there was not a threat. The lockdown was imposed after Halifax Regional Police received second-hand reports of a potential armed robbery at the university's cafe around 1 p.m. Dozens of police vehicles and an armored truck descended on the campus. Police asked the public to avoid the area during the investigation. They searched the school and found no evidence of a threat. There were no reports of gunshots or injuries.
The province has confirmed they are considering expanding alcohol sales to various retail outlets like corner stores. A public opinion survey of about 1,500 Nova Scotians over age 19 will begin this week. The province will also seek input from retailers, municipal governments, and health and safety organizations. Finance Minister John Lohr cites the recent push to open interprovincial trade barriers as a reason to do so now.
What's driving it is really what I already said, and that is the fact that alcohol is a poster child for interprovincial trade barriers, and the rules on alcohol are changing in other provinces, and we feel that, as part of the alignment with other provinces in terms of trade, that we feel that we need to look at this time.
Alcohol is currently sold at over 300 retail locations in the province, including Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation stores, private wine, and specialty stores.
Opposition leaders are condemning the PC government's decision not to release the recommendations in a report it received from a panel on environmental racism. The panel was created as part of the government's signature environmental bill in 2022. Today, the Justice Minister refused to explain why the information is being withheld or say whether she's even read the recommendations.
The only conclusion I can draw is that they don't want to be held accountable to its recommendations. The reason that they did this panel was to understand the legacy, the harmful legacy of environmental racism in this province, and understand how not to repeat it.
We have major concerns over that, but the comments I heard today, I just thought they were disgraceful. I think the minister has the absolute obligation to release that report so that the communities can see it and that Nova Scotians can read it.
Justice Minister Becky Drouin highlighted the government's plan to modernize and improve the Human Rights Commission.
Human Rights Commission is a foundational organization that has a broad mandate for addressing human rights and discrimination in Nova Scotia. And if that is not in a position to provide updated, modern, responsive action, then we're not in no place to take more detailed action.
Drouin says she is personally committed to transparency and the sharing of information. 2 Halifax apartment buildings with more than 120 units between them are being converted into condos. The owners say they can't afford to keep operating the buildings as rentals. Tenants say it's a blow to lose their homes in the middle of a housing crisis. Taryn Grant reports.
For 2 decades, these 2 buildings in North End Halifax have been home to renters, but tenants have started clearing out. The owners plan to sell the units, one by one, as condominiums.
So this puts me in a bit of a conundrum, because I don't know what's going to happen next.
Tenants are receiving letters by registered mail with an explanation. The property owners say it's become too expensive to continue operating the buildings as rentals. They blame higher property taxes, utility bills, and interest rates, coupled with the province's cap on rental increases. The buildings are owned by Peter Pauly, the president of development group Polycorp, and Robert Richardson, an executive with rental giant Killam. We asked for an interview with them, but got only a statement. It reiterates what they already told residents. Following Nova Scotia law, tenants have until August 2026 to move out, or they can buy their units. Asking prices have not yet been made public, but the owners gave tenants general information about the local condo market. They say their prices will reflect going rates. That means they'll be looking for between $400,000 and $900,000, depending on the unit. Several tenants told CBC they currently pay around $1,500 a month for 2 bedrooms, slightly below the average market rate.
I'll never be in a position to buy, well, if I inherit, that's about it.
Condo conversions have happened in Nova Scotia, but they're rare. This real estate analyst thinks they'll soon become more common.
Maybe this is sort of an indicator of a situation that other building owners and landlords might find themselves in.
More than 40 apartments are already empty, about a third of the total. Those vacancies don't sit well with tenant John Frost. Vacancy rates in Halifax did improve last year, but it's still a tight market.
The fact that they're being turned into condos doesn't bother me. The way it's being done kind of does, just because there's so many units that are being left empty right now.
Frost says he wants to stay as long as he can, but the clock is ticking. Taryn Grant, CBC News, Halifax.
The province has the power to restrict the conversion of rental housing, and Minister Jill Balzer told reporters today that her department will monitor for any uptick in conversions before considering tighter regulation.
A crew from Nova Scotia is on their way to Saskatchewan to help fight wildfires in that province. The team of 20 flew out of Halifax this afternoon. The firefighters will be the first Nova Scotia crew helping with the wildfire effort in Western Canada this season. There are currently multiple fires in Saskatchewan, and the crew members will be dispatched according to need. The Department of Natural Resources says current fire conditions in Nova Scotia allow its wildfire resources to be shared.
Yeah, it is fire season for sure. Always good to check in on the temperature and the weather forecast in that regard.
And we've got some more wet weather coming this way.
Which is good news. You know, not the timing, I know, the weekend. Obviously, folks looking for some sunshine. That has not been the case in May. It will not be the case this weekend either. We've got more wet weather on the way, but it is needed. And again, just 2 years removed from our own wildfire concerns here. And of course, watching the situation out west. And today, just a terrific day. Beautiful summer day, but of course, in the back of our minds, we are keeping that fire risk in mind, and we will see some showers overnight into Friday morning, then back into some sunshine into the afternoon, a slight risk for some showers popping up again. Saturday, looking at a scattered chance for showers primarily into the afternoon and evening, and then a bit of a break. And I think for Sunday, we'll see some sunshine and some showers, a little bit of both for the Sunday time frame. So some opportunities for us to get out and stretch our legs. There's that fire danger map. We have gone from low to high just in a couple of days. It does not take long. And a burn ban is in place for most of the province. So Tom and Amy, again, the window is very short this time of year where we can go from low to high, and we're there already. So a bit of wet weather will be some good news.
That is true.
Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you,
Talk
Ryan.
later.
Thank you.
Well, after some confusion about business closures on the Sydney waterfront, it appears they will get the green light to operate this summer. As the CBC's Matthew Moore tells us, this comes as a surprise after the municipality told them all to close last fall.
On a busy summer day on the Sydney waterfront, several kiosks would greet people with ice cream, fish and chips, and a beer garden. However, CBRM ordered these businesses to close in anticipation of a major development that would include apartment complexes and commercial office space. But that has now been postponed, to the relief of many business owners who are happy to stay open and to welcome the public.
Because I have wonderful customers. I know their names and I know their dogs' names.
Miles admits, however, the flip-flop decision-making has cost her.
The I's should have been dotted and the T's should have been crossed before we were told to get out of it, because it cost us. It cost us.
Doucet Developments is behind the waterfront project. They say the delay was caused due to a hiccup in purchasing the land.
The past government wasn't working with us to the point where we could get the land purchased. We're now working with the current mayor and his team, and we're very, very close to purchasing the land.
Mayor Cecil Clark says the decision to kick the kiosks out falls on the previous government, but he is happy to see them return.
Do recognize is I didn't put them in a position to leave there. I was the person that made sure those buildings went on the waterfront after the devastating loss of the Royal Cape Breton Yacht Club. I was the mayor that led a process to ensure that the portside infrastructure as a modular could be put on the waterfront. So I'm very proud of the fact that I understand that priority.
Clark says an ice cream vendor may be taking over another kiosk, and the Portside Beer Garden restaurant may also reopen. Matthew Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
The province is creating a third-party tool where short-term rental platforms like Airbnb send levies. It comes in the wake of some Nova Scotia municipalities struggling to collect those marketing levies from guests. The fees can be up to 3% of an accommodation price, applying to hotels and short-term rentals in homes or cottages. This adds up to thousands of dollars a year for most municipalities. But the platforms don't want to deal with municipalities individually and have warned the fees might be delayed. Brian Webb, the Senior Economic Development Officer for the District of Chester, says a third-party platform will be a big help.
On the administrative side, obviously, right now the biggest challenges that we have been made aware of at this point are being able to, for example, audit whether or not who the levies have been collected for and how to allocate them to different properties. That's something that would be a definite challenge at this stage, and it's also it would also make compliance a lot more likely.
The levy funds are used for local tourism projects or events. The province says they are in the early stages of finding a solution and have not committed to a timeline.
An upcoming Halifax pilot program will see 4 city buses powered by hydrogen and diesel. Regional Council approved about $122,000 for the dual fuel project. The province is funding the rest of the roughly $500,000 price tag. Other cities in Canada have bought hydrogen fuel cell buses, which are far more expensive. Halifax staff say the dual fuel option is much cheaper because it simply injects hydrogen into the diesel itself. The buses could bring about 70% reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and save millions of liters of diesel a year. Halifax will convert the buses in September and start testing this winter.
Fisheries and Oceans Canada says an entangled North Atlantic right whale has been spotted on the north shore of the St. Lawrence River. The endangered whale was seen near the Saguenay-St. Lawrence Marine Park on Tuesday by a vessel in the area. DFO says attempts to find the whale are ongoing. If it is found and weather and sea conditions are good, efforts will be made to try and untangle it. It is not yet known what type of gear the whale is entangled in or where it came from. The North Atlantic right whale has declined in population in recent years, with only an estimated 370 remaining.
A popular black bear at the Shubenacadie Wildlife Park has died, leaving one sibling behind.
The CBC's Meg Campbell has the update on how Clyde the bear is handling the loss.
Bonnie Bear arrived at the Shubenacadie Wildlife Park with her brother Clyde more than a decade ago. The park recently announced over social media that Bonnie had died, and staff tried to ensure that Clyde knew his Bonnie wasn't to be brought back.
After she passed, we gave him an opportunity to come see her. So he had a chance to sniff her, to wander around. And so he did come over, saw her, and then he left again. So at least he had that exposure to the fact that she was gone.
Clyde might know his sister has died, and staff think that's why he's more eager to socialize.
He was sitting right by the fence, and he was just sitting there looking around, and people were coming in, and he was not moving. He was nice. He thought, I think, that he would get the attention and the camaraderie that he was kind of missing maybe from his sister.
And it's not just Clyde that is bearing the loss of Bonnie. McDowell knew the pair of bears since they arrived at the park as cubs.
Well, the people that cared for him day to day, I'm sure it's a big loss. You know, like we all want to talk about it to each other, so that's a good way for us to kind of decompress. And the public wants to talk about it, and we don't want to keep secrets or anything like that because so many people have come here for so many years, and they know the bears, they're expecting to see them. And people actually feel sad that we've lost a bear.
Captive black bears can live an average of 20 to 30 years. Bonnie died at age 14, and staff are waiting to learn what happened.
We noticed that she was slightly off her food initially, and we thought maybe because we had that hot day that might have been a factor. But then by later on Friday afternoon, she was starting to show more signs of being uncomfortable. We don't know yet. We have our suspicions about what may be in the cause, but we're waiting for the postmortem to tell us what led to her passing.
Morrison says bears are relatively independent animals, but he is not ruling out Clyde gaining a 4-pod companion in the future.
We have to wait until there's either an injured orphan that can be rehabilitated or one that for whatever other reason can't be released back to the wild. And then we have to, one, make sure that bear is healthy before it can be introduced. It needs to grow a bit because he's a big boy.
Until then, Clyde will have to bear a life without Bonnie. Meg Campbell, CBC News, Shubenacadie.
Well, there's a very Nova Scotian scene. Are you hungry for lobster, Tom?
Makes you have mouth water, doesn't it? Yeah.
Ryan's up next with his weather forecast. We're back after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, no, we're all rooting for a really nice, sunny, warm weekend, but
Yeah.
to see the images from Manitoba and Saskatchewan
Yeah, it
and
makes-
the damage there, wow.
Makes you grateful, and as you were saying, glass half full, right?
That's right. Glass half full. We do need some wet weather. And it just, as I said off the top, it really doesn't take long to go from low risk, which we were on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we jumped to a moderate risk, and today we're already into high risk. And of course, the hot, dry weather really aids with that. And yeah, we'll need to be vigilant. Now, it does look like that shower activity will help tomorrow, but it's not going to be really a whole lot. And so we'll need a little bit more on the weekend. Let's have a look at our webcam video. And this, of course, from Nova Scotia Webcams. Lower Truro, beautiful evening there. You can see it is a little on the breezy side, and that was one of the big differences today as opposed to yesterday. Was those breezy southwest winds, and you can see temperatures out there. Well, we're a bit cool in those onshore winds along the south shore, but most of us into the high teens, low 20s, and those hottest temperatures, Cape Breton, back across to the north shore right now, ahead of those clouds which have been building in. There are the winds. You can see pretty sustained near the from the southwest, and we are seeing some gusts, widespread gusts, upwards of 35 to 45, even 50 kilometers per hour. At last check, 54 at Yarmouth. Now, as we look at the weather systems map, again, there is the cloud that's been pushing its way in. Not seeing much in the way of shower activity with this. This is the weaker low that will push in or actually roll to our south overnight and into the Friday morning time frame. That'll quickly move out. And then this is the system that's gathering steam that's going to be moving in. And that is set to roll in just in time for the weekend, of course. And I know the timing is just the real unfortunate part. And look at the temperatures again, building in 32 in Edmonton, and the temperatures rising through Saskatchewan and into Manitoba. Unfortunately for the fire crews battling things there, that is not good weather that's moving in there, dry and hot. And have a look at how warm it is in the U.S. Southwest. Vegas and Phoenix both at 36 at this hour. Now, as we look at the temperatures for tonight, it is going to be another summer-like night. We'll see the chance for showers and a risk for some thunderstorms. Winds are going to be from the south to southwest, the southwest to then south tonight as this system does pass. And you can see some shower chances this evening, and then a better risk through the overnight and into the early morning hours of Friday. When we're going to wake up, it's going to be cloudy. We're going to see some fog patches, and we'll see these chances for showers throughout the morning. And by the time we get to the lunchtime hour, I think the clouds will start to break up a little bit into the afternoon. We're going to see some sunny breaks, especially through the west and into central areas. But I do think the sun will eventually break through even into the Cape Breton region mid to late afternoon. And there's just a chance of an isolated shower popping up in this through as the skies do clear, though we'll just see the potential for one of those pop-up showers into the afternoon. So once the sun does break out, we're not totally in the clear, though it is an isolated risk. Temperatures are going to be ranging between about 14 to 18 across Cape Breton for tomorrow. The warmest temps will be here and across Inverness County. Bit of an onshore flow for Canso for tomorrow yet again. Port Hawkesbury back towards Guysborough, likely near 16. Antigonish and back into the Pictou County area, 24 to 25 degrees, and a pretty fine afternoon shaping up there. Temperatures into the low 20s through central areas and into the west. We'll see a bit of an onshore wind here for the Tri-County area, keeping those coastal temps cooler. We'll climb into the low 20s for the valley and back into the Kedzie area. So for the weekend, Saturday morning, cloudy to start, some onshore drizzle perhaps with some fog patches, and then we're looking at a better chance for showers Saturday afternoon. Then a bit of a break as we move into the overnight. Let's first show you the temperatures. 16 to 20 looks to be about our range, so it will be mild. And then for Sunday, as you can see here, the potential for some sun breaks and then some rounds of showers that are set to roll in. Now, the timing of these showers are key, obviously, and have yet to be really nailed down. The hours are going to matter, obviously, but it does look like the potential for a kind of a mid to late afternoon clear out on Sunday, and so the potential for some sun. And we'll keep our hat held on that, as you can see. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not looking too bad into next week as well. Tom and Amy.
Next
All
week
right.
looking good. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, the group representing retail outlets and corner stores says the expansion of alcohol sales could be a boon for business. The Nova Scotia government is looking at whether to expand retail operations for alcohol. This week, it will start work on a public opinion survey of about 1,500 Nova Scotians over the age of 19. Mike Hammoud is Atlantic Vice President for the Convenience Industry Council of Canada. So first off, why do you think it would be a good thing to have beer and wine in corner stores in this province?
I think it would be a good thing because it would be a great way to have choice and convenience, and at the same time it would help some of those retailers in rural areas.
Well, what would it mean financially for the average corner store?
Based on what we saw in Ontario when they went and allowed convenience stores to sell alcohol, it was a significant lift, especially for those retailers in rural areas. It was almost a difference of going out of business or staying in business.
Now, there are already 110 NSLC retail stores, 65 agency stores, plus a number of private retailers, craft brewers, and wineries. Do Nova Scotians really need more options?
I think so. I think choice is never a bad thing, and some of the polling that we've done over the years, I think, supports that.
Now, a coalition of health groups is speaking out, saying increased access will increase alcohol-related harm and add stress to the province's healthcare system. What do you say to those concerns?
Well, I mean, it's obviously good to have concerns. I feel like we are responsible community retailers. In Ontario, when they went, we developed a training course called SABRE, Selling Alcoholic Beverages Responsibly. It is one of the top retail courses in the province. We would definitely support mandated training for staff, and I think that we're responsible enough at selling the product.
Now, besides Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland, and Labrador already allow beer and wine in their corner stores. What other lessons are to be learned from their experiences?
I think that things have gone quite well since the launch in Ontario, and that would be the latest one. Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec have been selling for many, many years. I think the key to this is having, stringent rules in place. We are responsible community retailers. We sell other age-restricted products like tobacco and do a very good job at doing that. So we feel that this would be a very good fit for us.
What about concerns about theft? Perhaps harder to monitor with just one person at the counter?
Yeah, theft is always one of those things that are that is a challenge to retailers today, and I don't think it's any different with any of the other products that we kind of sell in our store. So we're confident that retailers have very good plans in place to kind of deal with that moving forward.
Now, what about rules about how close alcohol can be sold near schools? Is that something you've considered or something that's in place in other jurisdictions?
I don't know if we'd be open to that. I mean, it's all about being responsible community retailers. It's about showing that you're responsible enough to sell the product. And I'm confident that if everyone is trained and certified to sell this product, then it really shouldn't matter where you're located.
Now, so far, your organization hasn't been invited for any consultation. Do you expect to be included?
Yes. Actually, we were invited this morning, so yeah.
Okay,
we
you
definitely
did.
Expect to be a part of it.
Now, what do you think those consultations are going to be like?
I'm hoping that they're going to be wholesome conversations about expanding the sale of alcohol and kind of what that looks like moving forward. I think based with some of the experience that we have in other provinces, that we could provide some of that input to this province.
So what is your message to Nova Scotians as you make your pitch for this to happen?
We feel it's about time. With the interprovincial barriers coming down and talking about better things for Canada, we believe that we're responsible enough, and we believe that the population wants the convenience and the choice and being able to walk down to their local convenience store and get that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Coming up, Manitoba is under a state of emergency as wildfires continue to spread in Western Canada.
And Donald Trump's sweeping global tariffs are temporarily reinstated after being blocked by the U.S. Court of International Trade. Welcome back. Wildfires burning across the prairie provinces have forced thousands of people from their homes.
Officials have ordered 17,000 people to evacuate just in Manitoba. And hot and dry conditions is adding more fuel to an already dire situation. The CBC's Cameron McIntosh is on the ground in Winnipeg.
The fire within 3 kilometers of Flin Flon. Most residents did not take long to heed the evacuation order. Within hours, traffic bumper to bumper, 200 kilometers down the highway in the Paw. Many of those people,
this is Rico,
like Gina Malate and her family, making their way to evacuee centers in Winnipeg.
There's lots of what if there's a fire ahead of us, and then we're going to be trapped. So it's very scary.
The city clearing out overnight, fire lines still holding by morning, town officials staying behind, providing updates.
No assets are burning within our community and municipality boundary at this time. So we're pretty grateful for that.
The Flin Flon fire is the top of many firefighting priorities in Manitoba, as several communities across the north also evacuate. This other fire threatening the communities of Pimicikamak and Cross Lake, where the airport is on fire, forcing 5,000 people to rapidly get on the road.
Nothing can be done with this fire approaching because it's huge and crowning and going this way and that way, unpredictable.
Most fleeing to the nearest airport where they'll need to be airlifted with the help of the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Today we're declaring a provincial wildfire state of emergency.
Meanwhile, in Saskatchewan, a state of emergency as massive fires north of Prince Albert remain out of control. Across the north, thousands have left small communities and work sites as firefighters face ever-changing conditions.
It's a magnitude 6, which is the largest possible fire they can have. It makes it very tough to do any sort of attack on that.
And in Alberta, where heat advisories are covering much of the province, preparations for tough days ahead.
That if a new fire starts, it will grab hold quick and it will spread really fast. And existing fires have the potential for extreme fire behavior.
Across all 3 provinces, heat remains in the forecast with virtually no rain, conditions prone to feed wildfires. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Wildfires are also a problem in parts of the Atlantic region. In Labrador, emergency crews continue to fight an out-of-control wildfire near the town of Churchill Falls. Phone lines are down. Authorities say the fire is currently moving east, away from the town and facilities, including the hydro plant. Crews and water bombers have been deployed to push back the flames. A fire ban is now in place for Happy Valley Goose Bay.
A U.S. federal appeals court has temporarily reinstated Donald Trump's global tariffs after a judgment from the U.S. Court of International Trade blocked many of the tariffs Trump imposed since taking office. Kate McKenna reports from Ottawa.
This morning, the Prime Minister was optimistic about an American court ruling.
Mr. Speaker, the government welcomes yesterday's decision by the U.S. Court of International Trade, which is consistent with Canada's long-standing position that the U.S. IEEPA tariffs were unlawful as well as unjustified.
It was set to be the harshest blow yet to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff regime, and ordered to block some tariffs hurting Canadian industry.
I think it's a good ruling for us. I think, obviously when the court rules, we should listen.
But by mid-afternoon, the tariffs were reinstated by an appeals court, meaning the trade war persists.
It therefore remains the top priority of Canada's new government to establish a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to strengthen our collaboration with reliable trading partners and allies around the world.
These daily twists and turns of the Trump administration causing uncertainty for Canadian businesses and communities.
For us as a business, it's kind of turned everything upside down on its head. We don't know really long-term plans. We're sort of taking it week by week.
The sooner we can have certainty in this, the sooner that upward pressure of cost escalation ends. The other thing the uncertainty is creating is it is stalling business decisions.
Our goal is very clear. We want no tariffs. We want all workers. We're protecting our economy so we can keep people working, keep them in business, support business and support families.
During the election campaign, Prime Minister Mark Carney painted the United States as an increasingly unreliable partner. He has promised to improve free trade between provinces and diversify trade with other countries. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Israel has approved 22 new settlements in the occupied West Bank in its biggest expansion in the region in decades. The country's finance minister confirmed the expansion on social media, writing that the settlements would be located in the northern West Bank. Israeli human rights groups have condemned the move, saying it may strain ties with key allies that have threatened sanctions. The Western-backed Palestinian Authority, which administers limited rule in the West Bank, also condemned Israel's decision.
Meanwhile, a Canadian charity organization says it has suspended the distribution of food to the Gaza Strip. Human Concern International says it fears the aid would never reach the Palestinians who need it due to controls imposed by a controversial U.S. and Israeli-backed aid distribution system. Rafi Boudjikanian reports.
One child shared that he wished to be dead with his mother in paradise, where he knows he will be loved and he knows that there is food and water.
This plea to Parliament Hill directly from those trying to care for Palestinians.
What we see in Gaza for children is children walking ill-equipped in the streets with empty bowls looking for food.
After a blockade imposed on Gaza by Israel months ago, things were supposed to change in the last few weeks, when a US-backed entity, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, took control of food and aid distribution in the Strip. Palestinians rushed a distribution center this week, climbing its fences, the Israeli military firing what it called warning shots, injuring at least 3. One Canadian aid group is now taking a drastic measure.
SCI has paused the delivery of 17 fully loaded Canadian-funded aid trucks. Only the population in the south will be having access to the aid.
HCI says with its trucks limited to the south of the Strip, Palestinians now mostly displaced to the north would have to cross through multiple military checkpoints to get to the aid. The foundation says it will build more distribution centers across the territory within 30 days, but has not revealed locations.
Our donors did not give to support forced displacement or selective aid.
Last week, the federal government issued a joint statement with the UK and France threatening sanctions on Israel. The charity stating Ottawa acting on those could now be all that might sway Tel Aviv to make the foundation relax its grip on aid. But the Foreign Affairs Minister has been quiet about what could be the red line that makes her take action, while Conservatives believe the Liberals are misguided.
It really is extremely unfair that Mr. Carney is targeting the democratic Jewish state of Israel when, in fact, Hamas continues to hold hostages.
Other opposition parties are pushing for sanctions, pointing to the UK already making some moves. Israel has criticized even the rhetoric by Canada and its allies, accusing them of emboldening Hamas. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
The AI job interview has arrived. Artificial intelligence is being used to help screen potential new hires. The CBC's Nisha Patel shows us what it's like for job seekers to have a make or break moment with a machine.
Wafa Shafiq is used to doing job interviews online, but she was shocked when her latest interviewer wasn't human.
I think it felt odd. I was caught off guard a couple of times.
Welcome to the interview for the Marketing Specialist 2 position.
She says the AI agent was extremely polite, though she felt something was missing.
There's no small talk. There was no nothing personal, and I wasn't able to really tell if my answers were landing or not.
Thank you for taking the time to interview today.
Shafiq and other job seekers are sharing clips on social media. These AI hiring bots can now screen, shortlist, and even talk to job candidates.
Do you have any questions about how this interview will go?
I do think that this will become the norm for a lot of industries. So think like a manufacturer, really large restaurant chains, warehousing. These are all areas where it's often really hard to hire for those roles.
Ashram Garamani created an AI recruiter called Ribbon AI just 2 years ago and already has 400 customers. He says the technology works around the clock and frees up human workers from tedious tasks like scheduling.
I think AI will be extremely important in hiring in the future, but I think there'll always be a human in the loop.
Still, AI is reshaping workplaces. IBM is cutting 8,000 jobs, mostly in its HR department. For some applicants, AI can add confusion to the process. Maureen Green had to end an interview herself because the AI wouldn't stop.
So an hour in, I'm like, so I don't mean to interrupt, but it's been more than half an hour after the scheduled time of our interview. I just want to be mindful of your time, even though I'm like, it's an AI agent.
I decided to give it a try and test Ribbon AI's reactions.
How much do you get paid?
Haha, well, I'm just here to help with the interview process, so I don't have a paycheck.
Turns out I wasn't qualified, but being able to impress an AI could end up a critical skill amid predictions the technology will lead to more job losses. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
It is baby season at the Wildlife Preserve near Whitehorse, and one calf has needed a little more help than the others. Jackie Hong has that story.
It was a rough start for one of the Yukon Wildlife Preserve's newest additions. While the Muskox calf was healthy at birth, his mother had trouble fully expelling the placenta. That left her extremely uncomfortable and meant she wasn't able to give the calf his crucial first feed.
We ended up having to intervene, and so we're now bottle raising this, hand raising this little baby muskox.
Mom and baby are both doing fine now, but that initial separation meant they missed an important bonding window. The unnamed calf will spend a few more weeks getting bottles and pellet food. He'll then be gradually reintroduced to the rest of the muskox herd at the preserve. He's in a separate but adjacent pen for now, where the care team can keep an eye on him.
Normally I just go in and check the food and the water, and then his hay in the house. And if it's not more in good quality, or it's just stems left and no more leaves, then I take it out and then we just replace it.
While he's being human-raised, the team wants him to retain as much of his muskox characteristics as possible. That means making sure he doesn't get too friendly or too used to being around humans. But while people are keeping their distance, it can be hard to look away.
On a scale of 1 to 10, this guy is 11 on cuteness.
This little muskox is only 4 weeks old, but he's already doubled his weight.
But full-grown muskox can hit 350 kilograms. This little guy has a couple more years before he hits that. Jackie Hong, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Canada's main stock index fell today, but U.S. markets rose as investors reacted to U.S. court decisions blocking and then temporarily reinstating many of President Donald Trump's tariffs. Here's a look now at where things closed as we head to break.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, I really like how Ryan's not sugarcoating the weekend weather forecast, but making us feel, good about some showers at the same time.
You always find the positive in things.
Trying.
Yeah, I know.
Glass half full is something I do try to relay each and every night here, even when it's kind of gloomy. And yeah, we've got some showers to deal with this weekend, but as we said, we do need the wet weather for the fire risk. And believe it or not, May is actually running a little below average in terms of rainfall.
Really?
Yeah.
We've had just that all the rainy days have been on the weekends.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So let's have a look at our viewer picture of the day. And this taken on a sunny day and beautiful Inverness. Yes. And have a look at this from Francis A. McDonald.
Isn't that great?
Oh, man.
He takes such lovely photos.
Yeah, keep them coming, Francis.
Yeah.
That's a beauty.
Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Now, as we look at the forecast for Friday, looking at temperatures a little cool in those onshore winds for the Tri-County area. Most of us will be, I think, in that 20 to 24 range, though. Looking pretty good. Cape Breton will be about 14 to 18, with the skies clearing a little bit later there, but should see some sunshine for the late afternoon time frame and into Friday evening. Let's have a look at Saturday, and you can see temperatures mild, but it will be cloudy, and we will be looking at those showers. So let's time it out. So there's round one coming in overnight into Friday morning. That moves out. There are some of those sunny breaks into the afternoon. For Saturday, quiet start by the looks of things. That southeast flow will likely bring some patchy drizzle, some fog patches. And then Saturday afternoon, we are looking at the better chance for some scattered showers. That main wave pushes off to the north. That will allow for some sun breaks into Sunday. But it does look like we'll see some kind of rounds of showers moving in as well. But pretty optimistic that we'll see at least some sun breaks on Sunday as well, and temperatures at least riding near seasonal now.
Sun back for Monday.
There is that. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Well, have you ever wondered if you have a music instrument hiding in your fridge? No, you say?
No.
After this story, you well may.
It's pretty good.
All right, well, what sounds like Mozart can be heard outside this farm store in a southern English town.
This is the London Vegetable Orchestra. The musicians create musical instruments carved out of locally sourced produce, squeezing famous tunes out of carrots, zucchini, and bell peppers.
And when the musical carrot goes soft, popping it into water makes them firm again. The orchestra has even performed for King Charles, who's known to have given it a try.
There you
Royal
go.
touch.
Who knew? That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.